Mr. President, one thing you can say about Americans, we know how to meet the moment. When the world was upended by a Great Depression and a quarter of our people were out of work, we took bold action. A brand new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and large majorities in Congress ushered in a New Deal that put folks back to work, stabilized our economy, and invested in America's future. When freedom abroad was threatened by fascism, we again took bold action as a country. We used American ingenuity to build an arsenal of democracy, which by the middle of 1944 was churning out B-24 bombers every 60 minutes at Ford's Willow Run plant in Michigan. Now is the time again to take bold action on behalf of the American people. We're now a year into a pandemic that has claimed the lives of nearly 450,000 Americans. 450,000 Americans. Parents and grandparents and friends and neighbors and cousins and co-workers and community leaders. Almost 15,000 lives have already been lost in Michigan. Dear souls lost to us. And it's not just lives that have been lost. Businesses have closed, workers have been laid off, folks have been without paychecks for months and months. Parents are struggling to keep food on the table and the heat on while troubleshooting the spotty internet their children depend on to keep their classes going on Zoom. And grandmas and grandpas are missing out on seeing their families grow up. Babies born last March are already learning to walk and talk, and too many have not had a chance to be with them in person. Americans know how to meet the moment, and it is time for us to do it again. It's time to pass a rescue plan bold enough to stamp out this pandemic, get families the immediate help they need to weather the economic crisis, and get our children safely back in school. That's just what our American Rescue Plan will do, and we need to get it done as soon as possible. American families have waited long enough. There are a lot of good things happening right now. A home COVID-19 test was just approved. Soon we'll have 3 effective vaccines available. We know that we can't get back to normal, though, or revive our battered economy unless we get vaccine off shelves and into American arms. That's why our plan will increase the number of people being vaccinated, boost our testing capacity, and ensure that our health care professionals and other frontline workers have adequate protective equipment. The plan will also provide additional funding for rural health infrastructure through the agriculture portion of our bill, which I'm so pleased to lead. Our rural hospitals are struggling to survive right now, like places where I grew up in northern Michigan. This funding will help them keep their doors open, purchase necessary supplies, vaccinate more people, and treat more patients via telehealth, which has become so important. In the meantime, we know that American families need help to survive during this pandemic. They need help. They need to know we've got their backs. They gotta know that in all of this, somebody's got their back. The American Rescue Plan will give working families direct checks, extend crucial unemployment insurance programs, boost the child tax credit and earned income tax credit, which will lift half of American children out of poverty this year. Can you imagine? We have an opportunity here in Congress, working with our wonderful new president and vice president, to pass a policy that will lift half the children in poverty out of poverty, not 10 years from now, not 5 years from now, this year. What an exciting prospect, and we need to get it done. This means struggling families will, with all of this help, be able to cover their rent or their mortgage, pay their bills, keep food on the table. And keeping food on the table is especially crucial in a time when so many of our neighbors are going hungry. In fact, we know that 50 million of our Americans across the country, moms and dads and children, right now are facing hunger every day. We're better than this as a country. We've all heard stories about seniors waiting hours in lines for a box of food, or parents skipping meals so their children can have a little more to eat. The agriculture and nutrition funding in this American Rescue Plan will tackle hunger head-on by extending pandemic EBT for the duration of the pandemic. What does that mean? This is about children. This is about feeding children. Children who otherwise may get fed at school but aren't able to do that, to be able to have the resources they need for moms and dad to feed them while they're not in school, as well as in the summer. It will also provide more fruits and vegetables for moms and babies, and make sure that families who are eligible for help are getting it. People who need help in this country need to get that help. They need to know we have their back. We know that 2/3 of SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, 2/3 of it goes to families with children. By extending the bump up in SNAP funding through the end of September, we can make sure families aren't running out of food and going hungry at the end of the month. That's especially important for children because it's hard to learn. It's hard to learn how to read and write, and it's hard to focus when your stomach is rumbling, when you got a headache because you haven't eaten. Our children need to be fed, and they need to be back in class as well. We can't get our economy moving again if parents can't return to work, and parents can't return to work if they're worried that their children aren't safe at school, or if one of the parents or the only parent has to be home with the children. What do they do? So all of this fits together, and the American Rescue Plan will provide the support needed to safely reopen the majority of K-12 schools within President Biden's first 100 days. How important is that? What a great goal for us to have. And we can do that. We are just days away from working together to be able to get that done. And it will serve all students, no matter how or no matter where they learn. And for our farmers, speaking as the incoming chair of the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee, our farmers who have been directly affected by the ups and downs of the pandemic, the plan addresses the break in the food supply chain, and it enables us to buy and donate their products to food banks. You know, we've had so many selling to restaurants and big enterprises. The food supply chain stopped. They have excess food. I know dairy farmers in Michigan, it breaks their heart to think about the idea of dumping milk when we need that. So the efforts that are in this bill will help them be able to move from a bulk supply chain to be able to get gallon jugs, put the milk into the hands of families, and stop the wasting of precious, valuable food that our families need. This is going to help farmers' bottom line, and it feeds families in need. Our agricultural provisions also provide critical funding for PPE for farm workers and workers who labor every day in food processing plants, so we have the food that we need, protective equipment that they need and that they deserve. The plan also targets help for farmers of color who've been hit especially hard by the pandemic, on top of the historical challenges and discrimination they have faced in accessing land and capital. The plan provides critical debt relief to help them weather the storm and keep their operations going until the next growing season. Vaccinating Americans, providing economic help for families, getting our children back to school safely, those are the three main goals of this plan. All of these goals have one thing in common. It's about investing in people. It's about putting people first, the American people first. Over our nation's history, the policies that have truly lifted people out of poverty and moves them forward have invested in people. From our land-grant universities to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, to the Civil Rights Act, to the Children's Health Insurance Program, to increasing the minimum wage. And these are all policies, I'm proud to say, created and supported by Democrats. Investing in our people helps American families, and it helps our economy too. We've seen these Democratic policies create more jobs when you look at the numbers, Mr. President. Just when we look at the numbers, under which policies and which presidents have we seen more good-paying jobs? And over again, it's Democratic presidents because of the way that we invest. It's what we do, how we invest to create opportunity, to give everybody a fair shot to succeed, to invest in people and opportunity. Those things have created better economies and more jobs. So broadly, we are committed on making sure everyone shares in the prosperity of our country. And these policies create the conditions necessary to help people dream big dreams and actually achieve them. It's a new year. It's a new Congress. It's time to act. It's time to end this pandemic, give families the economic support they need, and get our children safely back to school. This is the moment. This is the moment. We need to think big. We need to be bold. We need to lean in on policies that we know work because they've worked before. Americans know how to meet the moment, and our moment is now.